All right, get ready for an awesome deep dive into Houston, Texas. We've got a ton of cool stuff to explore, from those iconic attractions you send in to some seriously hidden gems I can't wait to uncover.
What's really cool about what you've collected is how much variety Houston offers. We're not just talking space exploration, though that's a big part of it, but also art, nature, culture,
Yeah.
even some things that are a bit more, well, unexpected.
Unexpected, huh? Okay, now you've got me really curious. But first, let's blast off with something, well, a little more celestial. Space Center Houston. Gotta admit, seeing a real spacecraft up close has always been a childhood dream of mine.
And at Space Center Houston, it's more than just a dream. Imagine standing right next to the Apollo 17 command module, the actual vessel that brought astronauts back from the moon. You're not just reading about history, you're right there with it.
Wow, that would be incredible. And what about that shuttle replica Independence mounted on the Boeing 747? That's going to be an unbelievable sight. Hard to believe those machines were actually hurtling through space.
Right. And what's fascinating is that Space Center Houston isn't just about the past, it also gives you a glimpse into the future of space exploration. There's a tram tour of the Johnson Space Center where astronauts train for missions, including the Artemis program, which, is aiming to put people on the moon long term.
So it's like a bridge between the past and the future of space travel. Definitely adding that to my list.
And while you're there, you can't miss Mission Control, where they made history during the Apollo missions. It's a powerful reminder of how much ingenuity and courage it took to send humans into space.
Space Center Houston already sounds mind-blowing.
Oh.
Okay, what other treasures await? What's next on our Houston adventure?
Let's journey back in time, and I'm talking millions of years, to the Houston Museum of Natural Science. This place is packed with dinosaurs, ancient civilizations, dazzling gems. It's one of the most visited museums in the U.S., and for good reason.
From what I've seen, the sheer scale of this museum is unbelievable. Is it true they have an entire hall dedicated to dinosaurs?
Absolutely. Imagine walking amongst life-size replicas of these prehistoric giants, including a T-Rex. It's like stepping right back into the age of dinosaurs.
Okay, the thought of standing next to a T-Rex is both terrifying and awesome.
Mm.
What else makes this museum stand out?
Well, beyond the dinosaurs, there's the Burke-Baker Planetarium. It's not just stargazing, it's like a full-on experience of the vastness of space with immersive shows and crazy technology. You'll feel like you're actually soaring through the cosmos.
That's amazing. Can already picture myself lost in the wonders of the universe.
And if you want something a bit more down to earth, the Cockrell Butterfly Center is a must-see. Thousands of butterflies from all over the world just fluttering around you in a rainforest-like setting. It's truly magical.
The Houston Museum of Natural Science sounds like a feast for the senses and the imagination. Speaking of feasts, I'm getting hungry just thinking about all this exploring.
Hold on, no lunch break just yet. Let's immerse ourselves in the world of art at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. This place has one of the largest and most diverse art collections in the entire country.
So we're not just talking about your typical collection of, Renaissance paintings and sculptures.
Not at all. They've got everything. European masterpieces, contemporary art, decorative arts, textiles, even exhibitions that really push the boundaries. There's something here for everyone.
One thing that caught my eye was the Rothko Chapel. It's described as a place of contemplation and meditation, which seems like a really unique experience to have within a museum.
The Rothko Chapel is truly special. It's non-denominational, designed by the artist Mark Rothko, and it's got these 14 massive canvases that create this atmosphere of, pure serenity. It's a space for quiet reflection, even in the middle of a bustling museum.
The contrast between that vibrant art collection and the peacefulness of the Rothko Chapel is really fascinating.
Okay.
Now I'm picturing myself getting lost in thought amongst those monumental canvases.
And if you want to really delve deeper into art, you can check out the Glassell School of Art and the Brown Foundation Gallery, both part of the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. They've got exhibitions, classes, all sorts of events that showcase the city's amazing art scene.
The Museum of Fine Arts sounds like an incredible journey through art history. I'm already feeling inspired.
And after all that art, how about we head outdoors? Hermann Park, right in the heart of Houston, is the perfect place to relax and get back in touch with nature.
From what I've seen, Hermann Park seems like a great place to recharge. What makes it so special?
Well, it's like a huge urban oasis. Scenic walking trails, a beautiful lake, open spaces for picnics, and it's free.
Free is always good, especially when you're traveling. But Hermann Park is more than just open space, right?
Oh, yeah. There's also the McGovern Centennial Gardens, 15 acres of themed gardens, sculptures, water features. It's a photographer's paradise.
Okay, I can already picture myself strolling through those gardens, camera in hand. And what about the Miller Outdoor Theater? You mentioned something about free performances.
Yes, during the summer they have free performances. Music, dance, theater, even film. Imagine enjoying a show under the stars. It's magical.
That sounds like a perfect way to spend a summer evening. It's fantastic that Houston offers these free cultural experiences, making them accessible to everyone.
And speaking of accessibility, Hermann Park is also home to the Houston Zoo, one of the most visited zoos in the country. It's easy to spend a whole day exploring both the park and the zoo, perfect for families.
Okay, after all that walking, I'm ready to settle into a seat for some good old-fashioned entertainment. Now, I'm not a huge sports fan, but Minute Maid Park, home of the Houston Astros, has definitely piqued my interest. What makes this stadium stand out?
Well, first off, it's state-of-the-art with a retractable roof, so no matter the weather, the game goes on. No need to worry about those unpredictable Houston weather patterns.
That's definitely a plus. What else can visitors expect when they go to Minute Maid Park?
For baseball fans, they have behind-the-scenes tours. You can peek into the dugout, the press box, and even the Astros Hall of Fame. You can learn about the team's history and see where, the magic happens.
And for those of us who aren't, diehard baseball fans, what else is there to do at Minute Maid Park?
One thing that sets it apart is the food. They've gone beyond the typical stadium food and offer local Texas cuisine, so you can get a taste of the region while you're enjoying the game or event.
Local Texas cuisine.
Okay.
Wait, now you're speaking my language. And you mentioned something in your notes about events and concerts.
Yeah, Minute Maid Park is a multi-purpose venue. They have concerts, festivals, all sorts of events throughout the year, so even if baseball isn't your thing, there's always something going on.
Minute Maid Park sounds like a really vibrant place. Okay, I think it's time to indulge our inner shopaholics. Tell me about the Galleria. I hear it's a shopper's paradise.
The Galleria is more than just a mall, it's a whole experience. We're talking 26 million square feet of retail space, over 400 stores and restaurants, everything from high-end brands to more affordable options. You could get lost in there for days.
Wow, that's a lot of shopping. What are some of the highlights of the Galleria? Anything that really stands out?
Well, one thing that's really unique is that they have the world's largest indoor ice skating rink right in the middle of the mall. Imagine skating while being surrounded by shops and restaurants. It's surreal.
An indoor ice rink in a shopping mall? I've never seen anything like that. What else makes the Galleria a standout destination?
They also have all these annual events, fashion shows, food festivals, things that make it even more exciting. It's a place where shopping, dining, and entertainment all come together.
The Galleria sounds like a whirlwind of activity in a shopper's dream.
Okay, now I'm really curious about those unexpected things you mentioned earlier. What about Buffalo Bayou Park? It seems like a hidden gem just waiting to be explored. Buffalo Bayou Park shows you a completely different side of Houston, where you can escape the city and reconnect with nature. 160 acres of green space along the banks of Buffalo Bayou, with hiking and biking trails, picnic areas, even kayak rentals.
That sounds like a welcome escape from the nitty. What makes Buffalo Bayou Park different from the other green spaces in Houston?
For one, it's got this incredible place called the Cistern. It's a former underground watering reservoir that's been transformed into this stunning art installation. Picture descending into this massive space with columns rising from the water, reflecting light and shadow. It's a truly unforgettable experience.
Wow, the cistern sounds incredibly cool and atmospheric, adding that to my must-see list. Now, what about those unexpected elements you were talking about earlier?
Ah, yes. Every evening at dusk, this incredible spectacle unfolds under the Wa Drive Bridge. Thousands of Mexican free-tailed bats, like a massive cloud, take flight from their roosting spot. It's a powerful reminder that nature is everywhere, even in the middle of a big city.
That's amazing. The Wa Drive bat colony sounds like a seriously unique experience, maybe a little eerie too.
It's a sight you won't forget. And speaking of unforgettable experiences, planning a trip to Houston can be a little overwhelming, with so much to see and do.
Absolutely, especially when it comes to booking flights and hotels. Where do you even begin?
Well, that's where FlightHotels.com comes in. It's your one-stop shop for finding the best deals on flights and hotels. You can compare prices, get exclusive discounts, and book everything in one place. Super convenient.
That sounds perfect, especially for someone like me who likes to have everything organized and in one place.
Exactly. And you can trust them. They partner with leading airlines and hotel chains, so you're guaranteed a quality travel experience.
Wow, this has been an amazing whirlwind tour of Houston. We've gone from space exploration to art and nature, bustling shopping malls to tranquil parks. Houston seems to offer something for everyone.
And what's really impressive is how much the city prioritizes accessibility, making all these experiences open to everyone. Houston is all about embracing diversity and creating a sense of community.
I'm already starting to imagine my own Houston adventure. Before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, I want to hear from you, the listener. What's piqued your interest so far? What are you most excited to explore in Houston based on what we've discussed? We'll be back soon to uncover even more hidden gems and insider tips in part 2 of our Houston deep dive.
Welcome back to our Houston deep dive. It's clear this city is more than just stereotypes. It's a cool blend of, like, urban excitement and that southern charm.
You know, what's striking me is how Houston mixes its history with modern stuff. It's a city that respects its past, but is also looking ahead to the future.
Totally. Speaking of history, if you want to really dive into Houston's roots, the Heritage Society at Sam Houston Park is a must-see. It's like going back in time to the 1800s.
Oh, I love historical homes. What kind of buildings can we see at Sam Houston Park?
You'll find all these beautifully preserved homes and buildings from Houston's early days, showcasing different architectural styles. You can imagine what life was like back then, from Victorian mansions to those simpler shotgun houses.
It's amazing to think about all the stories those buildings could tell. And I bet there are some amazing photo ops there too. Those old houses are always so picturesque.
You know it.
Yeah.
And if you want to learn more about the people and events that shaped Houston, they have guided tours. You can hear all these firsthand accounts and stories that really bring the past to life.
A guided tour sounds like a great way to really immerse yourself in Houston's history. Okay, I'm ready to switch gears for a bit. All this exploring is making me hungry. Let's talk about food. Houston seems like a foodie's paradise.
Absolutely. Houston's food scene is like a melting pot of flavors reflecting the city's diversity. And what's cool is that the sources you provided highlight some dishes that truly capture Houston's unique culinary identity.
Okay, I'm ready for the inside scoop. What are some of those must-try dishes?
Well, one that really embodies Houston's fusion of cultures is Viet Cajun crawfish. It's this amazing mix of spicy Cajun flavors with Vietnamese herbs and spices, super fresh and aromatic.
Crawfish with a Vietnamese twist? That's a new one for me. It sounds incredible.
It's a pretty recent culinary creation, actually, showing the influence of Houston's growing Vietnamese community. It's a testament to how the city blends different cultures and traditions, not just in food, but in everything.
Okay, that's going straight to the top of my list.
Yeah.
What other culinary adventures await in Houston?
You can't talk about Houston without mentioning Tex-Mex. It's a staple, and for good reason.
I'm a big Tex-Mex fan. What makes Houston's Tex-Mex stand out?
Houston Tex-Mex is all about bold flavors, fresh ingredients, and generous portions. Think sizzling fajitas, cheesy enchiladas, and mountains of nachos with all the toppings.
You're making me hungry. And we can't forget about those breakfast tacos. I hear they're a Houston institution.
Oh, yeah. Breakfast tacos are a way of life in Houston. There are endless variations, from simple bean and cheese to more elaborate ones with eggs, chorizo, potatoes. The perfect way to fuel up for a day of exploring.
Okay, we've covered history, we've covered food. Now let's talk about getting around. Houston's a big city.
Right, but from what I've seen, getting around is pretty easy. The city has a great public transportation system, buses, light rail.
That's good to know. Public transportation is always a good option. More sustainable, and often cheaper than taxis or ride-sharing.
Exactly. And the Metro Rail is constantly expanding, connecting more neighborhoods and attractions. You can get from downtown to the museum district, the medical center, and beyond, no problem.
That's convenient. But I'm guessing Houston is pretty car-friendly too, right?
Definitely. If you prefer to drive, renting a car is a good option for exploring at your own pace.
I imagine traffic can be a challenge, especially during rush hour.
Like any big city, Houston has its share of traffic, especially at peak times. But outside of rush hour, it's pretty easy to get around. The city's well laid out with a grid system and plenty of signs.
Okay, so transportation's covered. Now let's talk about those quirky hidden gems that make a city special. You always seem to find those off-the-beaten-path treasures. What did you find for Houston?
One place that caught my eye was the Art Car Museum. Ever heard of an art car?
An art car. I'm intrigued, but I'm not sure I can picture it.
Imagine cars that have been turned into, like, rolling works of art. They're decorated with mosaics, murals, found objects, recycled materials. It's a celebration of creativity and a unique expression of Houston's artistic spirit.
That sounds incredible. I love the idea of art that's not stuck in a gallery, but out in the world, interacting with the city.
Exactly. The Archive Museum has a rotating collection of these amazing mobile masterpieces, so there's always something new to see.
Okay, I'm adding that to my list. What other unusual attractions did you find?
This one might sound a little different, but the National Museum of Funeral History is actually really fascinating. It explores a topic that most people don't think about very often.
A museum about funerals. I'm morbidly curious now.
It's not as creepy as it sounds. The museum explores the history and traditions of funeral practices from all over the world. Ancient burial rituals, the evolution of the hearse, embalming techniques. It's a unique look at a universal part of the human experience.
I never thought I'd be interested in the history of funerals, but you've got me hooked. What else can you see there?
They've got a collection of historical hearses, including the one used for President Reagan's funeral, and they have exhibits on famous funerals throughout history like Princess Diana, Abraham Lincoln.
Wow, that's quite a collection.
Ugh.
Okay, we've covered art cars and funeral history. Now let's talk about neighborhoods. Any recommendations for exploring Houston's different neighborhoods?
Definitely. For a local vibe and like a bohemian feel, check out the Heights. It's a historic neighborhood known for its cute boutiques, vintage shops, and cozy cafes.
I love exploring different neighborhoods. It's a great way to experience the local culture and find hidden gems.
The Heights is perfect for an afternoon of browsing for unique finds, having coffee at a sidewalk cafe, or just enjoying a meal at one of the independent restaurants.
I'm guessing there are some beautiful old houses in the Heights too, right?
Oh yeah, tons of them. The Heights is known for its well-preserved architecture, those beautiful Victorian homes with all the ornate details and big front porches. It's really beautiful.
Okay, the Heights on my list.
Yeah.
Now, what about family-friendly activities? Any recommendations for people traveling with kids?
If you're traveling with kids, you have to check out the Children's Museum of Houston. It's packed with interactive exhibits, perfect for kids of all ages. It makes learning fun and engaging.
I love children's museums. What are some of the highlights?
They have all these themed areas, like a science lab where kids can do experiments, a construction zone where they can build stuff, even a kid-sized city where they can pretend to have different jobs. It's all about learning through play and exploring.
That sounds amazing. I can picture kids spending hours there, totally engrossed.
Yeah.
What else makes the Children's Museum special?
They're always coming up with new exhibits and programs, so it's always fresh and exciting. It's a place where kids can really let their imaginations run wild.
Okay, we've covered so much ground already. Before we move on, I want to ask our listener, what are you most looking forward to experiencing in Houston? What are you adding to your itinerary? We'll be back with even more insights and tips in part 3 of our Houston Deep Dive. Well, we're back for the final part of our Houston Deep Dive, and I gotta say, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, but in a good way. So much to see and do, it's like, where do we even begin?
I know, right? We've barely scratched the surface, but it already feels like we've uncovered a ton of amazing stuff.
All right, let's jump back into those sources and see what else we can find. I'm ready for anything.
Well, for those who love the performing arts, Houston's got a scene that's up there with the best in the world. The Wortham Theater Center. It's this architectural masterpiece, home to the Houston Grand Opera and the Houston Ballet. World-class performances in a stunning setting.
Ooh, I love a good opera house.
Yeah.
There's just something so magical about it. The music, the drama, the costumes. It's like being transported to another world.
And the acoustics at the Wortham are supposed to be incredible. It really adds to the experience.
That's definitely something I'd want to check out. But what about for those of us who prefer something a bit more, contemporary? How's the music scene in Houston?
Oh, it's awesome. If you're looking for a modern vibe, the House of Blues is the place to go. They have all sorts of acts, blues, rock, hip-hop, country, something for everyone.
So whether you're into classical or the latest hits, Houston has you covered. I'm starting to think we might need to extend this trip.
Right. Okay, let's talk about something practical. Packing. What to bring can really make a difference.
This is where I always struggle. I overpack every single time. Any tips for packing smart for Houston?
One thing to remember is that Houston's weather can be unpredictable, so layers are key. You might need a jacket in the morning and a t-shirt by the afternoon. You never know.
Good point. I'm always cold, so layers are a must for me. What about shoes? Any recommendations?
Comfortable shoes are essential, especially with all the walking you'll be doing. Something that can handle both city streets and park trails.
Definitely prioritizing comfort over style on this trip. Blisters are the worst.
Absolutely. Speaking of souvenirs, what kind of things do you like to bring back from your travels?
I'm not really a big souvenir person, but I do like to find something small and meaningful. maybe some local art or a handcrafted item.
Houston's got tons of options for that. Remember the Heights we talked about earlier? That's a great spot for unique finds. You can check out the boutiques and art galleries there.
What about those craft markets and art fairs? Houston must have some good ones.
Oh, yeah. The city has a thriving arts and crafts scene. It's a great way to support local artists.
Perfect. Adding that to my list. Now, what about something a little more, I don't know, quirky? Any suggestions for souvenirs that are truly unique to Houston?
Well, if you want something out of this world, you can't go wrong with the Space Center Houston gift shop. They have everything from astronaut ice cream to model rockets, even space-themed clothes and accessories.
Oh, that's a great idea. A little piece of space history to take back home.
Yeah.
Okay, before we wrap things up, let's talk safety. Any tips from what you've found?
All the sources agree that Houston is a safe city overall, but like any big city, it's smart to be aware of your surroundings, take the usual precautions.
Right, don't flash your valuables, be mindful when you're walking around, especially at night, and trust your gut if something feels off.
And if you're ever unsure about anything, just ask a local. People in Houston are known for being friendly and helpful.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything, from space to museums, parks, shopping, dining, those quirky hidden gems, and even practical travel tips. We've given our listener a pretty good overview of Houston.
It's been an amazing journey, and you know what? Houston's a city that never stops changing and growing, so even with all this, I bet there's so much more to discover.
I totally agree. To our listener, we say, embrace that spirit of adventure, pack your bags, and get ready to experience the magic of Houston. It's a city that's sure to surprise and delight you.
And don't forget to use FlightNHotels.com to book your trip and snag those great deals.
Exactly. Until next time, safe travels, everyone.